Open the door. Compliance inspection. The pounding rattled the frame like a battering ram. 3 sharp knocks, then 3 more, each one heavier than the last. I remember staring at the clock, 11 o'clock on a Saturday night, thinking, nobody from any real authority knocks like that at this hour, and if they do, they're not coming to talk. You know what I mean? I slid out of bed, bare feet on the cool hardwood, and crept down the hall, the pounding never letting up, steady, insistent, almost like they were daring me not to answer. I paused by the front window, pulled the curtain back just an inch, and there they were, 2 men standing shoulder to shoulder on my porch, dark navy uniforms, HOA police stitched across their chests, tactical boots, gear belts hanging heavy, arms bare from the elbows down and covered in thick black ink, tattoos curling over veins like armor. One twirled a pair of handcuffs on his finger, the metal clicking in the porch light, a sound meant to rattle nerves. The other gripped a clipboard, flipping pages like he was itching to fill out a charge sheet. Behind them, arms folded and lips curled in satisfaction, stood Karen Whitmore, HOA president and self-proclaimed queen of this cul-de-sac, wearing that smug smile she reserved for the moment she believed she'd finally trapped me. There was no squad car, just a black SUV, hazard lights blinking, parked halfway on my lawn. No badges, no radios, no real police insignia. The pounding came again, this time so loud it rattled glass. Sir, this is an official compliance inspection. Failure to cooperate is grounds for immediate arrest. Immediate arrest. That nearly made me laugh. Almost. I slipped on the jacket hanging by the door, my hand brushing the familiar edges of my FBI credentials tucked inside my wallet. They thought I was just another homeowner to intimidate. They thought wrong. I turned the deadbolt slowly, savoring the sound, then cracked the door just enough to catch their eyes, grinning. You sure you boys want to do this tonight? Vince, the taller one, thick beard, tattoos running up his neck, sized me up like he was itching for a bar fight. Brad, his stockier partner, sported a shaved head with a jagged scar from ear to jaw. They weren't cops, not even close. More like muscle for hire in uniforms stitched together from an army surplus bin and a half-broken printer. And there stood Karen, orchestrating it all. She'd lorded over Willow Bend HOA for 6 years. 6 years too long, if you asked anyone with sense. She called herself a steward of community standards, but everyone else just called her what she was. A bully with a clipboard, the type who measured your grass with a ruler, circled driveway cracks in chalk, fined you for trash cans left out 3 minutes too late. She didn't wield real authority, just psychological leverage. People let her push them around because they were tired, busy, or scared of conflict. She thrived on that fear, and now she'd brought hired goons to my door. I leaned on the doorframe and looked right at her. Evening, Karen. Didn't know compliance inspections came with tattoos and handcuffs. Her smile widened. Daniel, you've ignored 3 citations already. Tonight, the board voted unanimously to authorize immediate enforcement action. I couldn't help but laugh. The board? Or just you and your 2 friends here? Her eyes flashed, but she didn't answer. That silence said it all. Now, before I get any further, you should know something. I'm Daniel Miller, 38, Ohio-born, raised in a family that believed in law, order, and not backing down. My father was a cop, my mom a teacher. Me? I spent 15 years in the FBI, chasing fraud, organized crime, every type of hustler who thought intimidation was a shortcut to power. I'd seen this before, just a new flavor, different packaging. And I'd moved to Willow Bend 3 months back looking for quiet, hoping the loudest thing I'd hear at night was the cicadas, not midnight knocks from fake cops. In those weeks, I'd watched Karen act like judge, jury, sheriff all rolled into one. She fined old Mr. Franklin, a Korean War vet, for flying a weathered flag. She threatened Tamara Lewis, a single mom, with foreclosure because her flower bed didn't meet some made-up standard. But tonight, she'd come for me, flanked by muscle, expecting to make an example out of the new guy. The difference was, I didn't scare. I didn't blink. I let the silence stretch. Then, casually, tell you what, Karen, you and your boys give me 5 minutes. Then we'll see who's really in charge. Her smile faltered. Vince stepped forward, clipboard scraping my door. Here's your citation, he said, voice low, almost rehearsed. The paper was bright white, ink sharp, violation of community standards, immediate penalty, big red letters. Failure to comply will result in arrest and removal. I nearly laughed in his face. Tell me, Vince, what academy did you graduate from? His jaw flexed. Doesn't matter. You're in violation. Pay or come with us. Brad cracked his knuckles for show. Karen shifted, making sure every neighbor peeking through the blinds saw she was in control. I pushed the paper back into Vince's chest. This isn't worth the ink it's printed with. Karen snapped. You don't get to decide that, Daniel. The board has spoken. The board? Was that at your kitchen table, or just over text with these two gentlemen? I watched her face tighten. I'd hit the mark. Vince stepped in. Enough games. Step outside. That's when I pulled it, my FBI badge. The porch light caught the gold letters. Federal Bureau of Investigation, I said evenly. Special Agent Cooper. I let that land. You two are impersonating law enforcement. That's a federal crime. And Karen, what you're running here looks a lot like organized extortion. The silence was thick enough to cut. Vince froze, clipboard limp. Brad tensed, like he was weighing whether to bolt or throw a punch. Karen's smile cracked, a hairline fracture right across her confidence. I stepped closer, voice low and sharp. Either you walk away quietly tonight, or you spend the weekend in a holding cell while I decide what charges to press. Porch lights flicked on, one after another, witnesses. Karen finally found her voice, higher now, a little desperate. Daniel, don't be dramatic. This is just neighborhood compliance. I snapped the badge shut. No, Karen, this is fraud. This is impersonation. And this is the last time you bring your circus to my door. I pointed to the SUV. Move that off my property. Tell your board the next fake cop who knocks here leaves in cuffs. Karen's lips pinched, and with a nod, she and her goons retreated. The SUV's headlights swept my lawn as they drove off. For the first time in weeks, the street was quiet. But I knew it was just a pause. Karen wasn't done. She doubled down, starting with that SUV, blue and red strobes clipped to the dash, no real plates, just circling the neighborhood. It wasn't just me. Mr. Franklin got another flag citation. Tamara was threatened with foreclosure for yard neglect. Neighbors whispered behind closed blinds, some believing the uniforms, others just scared. Fear spreads fast when it wears the right colors. I kept my distance, documented everything, photos, times, citations. If Karen thought intimidation would break me, she hadn't met the right enemy. Then, late one Wednesday, Tamara rang my doorbell, eyes wide, hands shaking. She handed me a foreclosure notice, bogus, but scary enough. I can't lose my home, Agent Cooper. What do I do? Her kids stood behind her, two scared faces in the porch light. I promised her, nobody's taking your home. Not on my watch. That night, I spread every citation, photo, and note across my desk. Patterns emerged. She targeted the vulnerable, seniors, single moms, people who didn't have the fight left. Karen was the wolf, the rest were sheep. But she'd picked the wrong sheepdog. I dug deeper, company filings, public records. The community compliance group that owned the SUV was a Shell LLC, registered to Karen herself, no security license, just a mailbox address. All the trappings of law, but none of the substance. But it wasn't just about paperwork. Bullies like Karen thrive on silence, so I started knocking on doors. Franklin, Tamara, the Hendersons, one by one. Each had a story, each had a paper trail, each had fear. But when I showed my badge, when I told them they weren't alone, the silence started to break. Mr. Harris, a neighbor I barely knew, said, "You go after her, son, you won't stand alone." Half this street's been praying someone would. By the time I went home, I knew Karen wasn't just a nuisance. She was running a racket. But when bullies can't win with fists, they turn to whispers. Karen started rumors. I pulled a gun. I was dangerous, unstable, suffering PTSD. By the weekend, the rumors were gospel. Then came the real blow, a complaint at the Richmond field office. My boss called me in, folder on the desk. "Cooper, multiple witnesses allege you threatened private security with a firearm." I knew whose fingerprints were all over it. "Sir, they're imposters. No credentials, no authority. I never drew a weapon." But my boss only shrugged. "Internal Affairs wants you off active cases until this clears." Just like that, Karen weaponized my own agency against me. But I'd studied these tactics, psyops, isolation, making you doubt yourself. I wasn't about to crumble. I got copies of those statements. The details didn't add up. One claimed I threatened them with a shotgun. I don't own one. Another said it happened in broad daylight. It was 11 p.m. Sloppy work from desperate people. I built a file. Texts, fake statements, every citation. Meanwhile, neighbors who once waved now avoided me. Fear was thick as fog. Late one night, walking Max, my old Labrador, I watched Karen's house. Lights flickering upstairs, shadows moving. Not just an HOA president gone rogue, but something deeper. I knelt by Max. They think they're running the show, but they're forgetting something. He wagged his tail. I knew exactly how to flip a psyop. The SUV's tags were Virginia State, registered to Karen's LLC. No licenses, no oversight. She'd built a shell, given herself power, and started bleeding the block dry. I went door to door, gathering stories. Franklin, the Hendersons, Tamara. The same plea. Don't put my name on it. Don't make me the target. That was her genius. She didn't need guns or badges, just fear. But fear has a breaking point. One night, the SUV rolled by. Vince tossed a citation onto my lawn. Final warning. Forced removal. That did it. I filed the stack, jaw set. It was personal now. Court day came. The courtroom was packed. Neighbors who once crossed the street to avoid me now shoulder to shoulder. Judge Harmon presiding. Karen walked in first, Vince trailing, his tattoos hidden. Karen's lawyer painted her as a saint, me as a menace. I let him spin. When my turn came, I laid it out. Fraud, fake uniforms, intimidation for profit. Alvarez from local PD handed the clerk a folder. The SUV's registration, bank transfers to Karen's shell company, and video of Vince bragging about the boss lady. One by one, neighbors rose, Tamara shaking but firm, Franklin unflinching. Alvarez confirmed none of Karen's officers were licensed. The room turned. Karen snapped, shrieking, "He's FBI? He fakes evidence." But the judge had heard enough. Karen's authority suspended, pending charges for fraud and impersonation. My record cleared. But Karen wasn't done. Flyers showed up in mailboxes, black and white, screaming headlines about FBI betrayal. Lies, all of it, but lies spread quick. Paul, a nervous neighbor, warned me. She still has people. That night, my tires were slashed. Tamara got another fake foreclosure letter. I called a meeting in Franklin's garage. 30 neighbors, some scared, some angry. If we break now, she wins. But together, we document everything. We bury this for good. Franklin, voice gravelly, said, "I've fought worse. I'm not backing down." Murmurs of agreement followed. Then things got uglier. A brick crashed through my window with a note. "You should have stayed quiet. Next time we won't miss." Max barked himself hoarse. That same night, the SUV parked bold at the end of the block. Vince flashed a mock salute, then drove off. That's when I realized. Karen was the face, but someone else was backing her. Vince wasn't loyal. He was paid muscle for a real boss. A few days later, a black crow was nailed to my fence, gang style. Alvarez studied it. "This isn't HOA stuff anymore, Daniel. It's organized." I started surveillance. Late night, no lights, just watching. The SUV circled Tamara's house, headlights off. I rolled up, brights flooding their windshield. Vince and a new face stared back, stone cold. "You boys lost." No answer. They peeled away. By morning, 3 houses had break-ins. Nothing stolen, just a warning. "We can reach you." Tamara was ready to run. "Don't," I said. "If we scatter, they win." 2 nights later, my truck was set on fire, a warning clear as day. Then a letter. 1 week you leave, or people start bleeding. Kids first. That was it. The Bureau taught me patience, but it also taught me how to hunt. I set up a command center, evidence, names, money trails. Karen was just the front. Every dollar ended up with Redwood Development Group, a statewide racketeering front. Alvarez said, "That's laundering." We needed them caught in the act. We staged complaints, recorded everything. Hidden cameras, drones, neighbors as decoys. Finally, Tamara brought a manila envelope. Emails linking Karen to a financier, Leonard Brooks. I called him, posed as a nervous resident, got him to reveal a meeting at the community center. I didn't loop in every cop. I knew there were leaks. That night, Alvarez and I waited in the shadows. Vince, Leonard, Karen showed up. We caught everything on tape. Leonard talking fear as leverage, Karen groveling, Vince posturing. I stepped out, badge in hand. Funny thing, Leonard, property values plummet when the FBI seizes your assets. Chaos. Alvarez drew down. Vince froze. Karen shrieked. In minutes, it was over. Cuffs, evidence, the works. As they hauled Karen away, she spat at me. You don't know what you've done, Miller. Leonard's not the top. There are others. Maybe she's right. But that night, Willow Creek breathed again. Neighbors clapped. Some just hugged. But the fear was finally breaking. News trucks came. Karen's mugshot made headlines. Once the queen, now just a criminal. Tamara became interim HOA president. Franklin watched the kids ride bikes again. Max napped in the sun for the first time in weeks. But I stayed vigilant. Because shadows don't disappear overnight. The case against Redwood Development Group grew, spread across 3 states. Racketeering, intimidation, land grabs. Justice had its day. Karen got 6 years. Vince and the muscle got longer. Leonard turned snitch for a lighter sentence. Willow Creek rebuilt. Real transparency, open elections, a neighborhood that actually looked out for each other. Still, on a quiet night, I sat by the window, Max snoring at my feet, and noticed an envelope slid under my door. No return address, just my name. Inside, a single black card, an oak tree encircled by stars. No note, no threat, just a symbol. And that itch at the back of my neck told me the fight wasn't over. Not by a long shot. So let me ask you, what would you have done in my place? Would you stand up or keep your head down? Drop your thoughts below. Let's hear where you stand on HOAs, on justice, on fighting back when the rules are rigged. Because out here, the shadows are always looking for the next house to haunt, and I don't plan on letting them in.